Battle Cats is filled with a lot of great units. Some are stronger than others, but I can say that there are a lot of well-designed units regardless of their power. Strong units like Bahamut, Fishman, and Izanagi are very well designed in my opinion, but so are units like Soroctes, Fiend, and Momoko, which aren't nearly as powerful. A unit like Soroctes has many different stats and abilities which all come together to create a unit with purpose, which in his case is a mid-ranged rusher that can support you with a conjure as well as help push forwards on stages on top of being a great angel counter. Battle Cats units tend to have a lot of synergy between their stats in order to be able to perform their roles well. However, I think there are some units that have something missing in their kit, whether that's a big debilitating flaw, a lack of purpose, or just getting the short end of the stick in some department. Today, let's go over a few unit designs that aren't exactly bad, but ones that I think would welcome some minor improvements. Delinquent Cat is a pretty cool super rare gacha unit that doesn't get much use nowadays. He's a mid-ranged attacker with the ability to freeze floatings and relics at a 16% chance for 2 seconds, with a 3-part multi-hit averaging to around a 40% chance per attack cycle. He also has a strengthen that increases his damage by 50% below 67% HP, and a 10% chance to savage blow on hit. With all these factors combined, a talent maxed Ultra Delinquent Cat has a DPS of 8,687 at level 30 on average while it's strengthened. This is higher than other super rares at the same level, such as Pizza, Liberty, and even Can. However, Ultra Delinquent has some major flaws that make him very undesirable to use. His 3-part multi-hit makes doing damage inconsistent, as enemies can get knocked back in between the hits and avoid being hit by all of them. His low range of 280 also means there's a lot of enemies he can't reach, and unlike Pizza Cat who has a wave, he has no form of pierce to even chip them. His biggest flaw, however, is that he has a very long cooldown of 34.2 seconds. This is almost double the cooldown of Pizza Cat, and is even slower than an Uber like Balrog. This lengthy cooldown prevents him from being a good generalist, as he doesn't have the survivability to last until the next one comes back off of cooldown on most stages. As a floating and relic debuffer, the chance of freezing is too low and too inconsistent to warrant using him, and the cooldown prevents you from easily stacking him to improve his consistency. Delinquent Cat is a pretty cool unit, but he has a lot of problems. So here's the part of the video where we try to fix him. Using Battle Cat's Ultimate, which is a program that emulates the gameplay of Battle Cats and allows you to playtest units and stages while adding your own custom content, I was able to make a modified version of Delinquent to fix his issues. I think there's 2 main trains of thought going into this. The first being to improve his general stats so that having a low amount of delinquents on the field is still strong, and the other is to simply lower his cooldown so that you can spawn enough of him to be effective. While there are multiple correct answers here, my solution was to do a bit of both. First, I increased his standing range to 320, or the same as Liberty. This increased range allows him to be used for a few more enemies than something like Pizza Cat, at ranging Rain D and Emost, which itself opens up another usage for his niche. The next thing I did was give him Omni Strike for his attacks. His first 2 hits will reach up to 475 range, while his final one will reach up to 550. I chose these numbers to match his attack animation, which I feel is important for Delinquent's identity. After all, Delinquent used to not have multi-hit, but was given it by PONOS later on to match his attack animation, so it feels like fair game to do the same here. And finally, I lowered his cooldown by 8 seconds, all the way down to 26.2 seconds. This is still longer than most super rares like Pizza and Housewife, but is low enough for you to deploy him at a more comfortable rate. These improvements might seem overpowered, but in practice he's actually quite a balanced unit. Due to his stats now, a singular Delinquent may be slightly stronger than a singular Pizza or Housewife, but still has a longer cooldown to match his cost and identity. Testing our new Delinquent Cat, he's quite a strong unit. The longer range gives him unique scenarios to shine on, such as outranging Rain D variants or setting up a freeze chain on Emost. The extra Pierce allows him to hit enemies more consistently, which can be useful to compensate for some extra damage considering his multi-hit. It also makes landing shots easier on some enemies, such as Othom, which getting Delinquent to freeze is a pretty reliable task now. Finally, the lower cooldown makes stacking him as a CC unit more consistent, as well as letting the player get him back faster if he goes down. All of these improvements make him quite a nice generalist too. I don't think he's as good as Pizza or Housewife, but being a little bit above Seafarer's power level as a generalist is quite solid. I think that if this was the Delinquent Cat in the game right now, he'd be a respected super rare generalist mid-ranger that sees a fair amount of use, but isn't overwhelmingly strong enough to be used on every stage. With Delinquent Cat fixed, let's move on to helping another unit. Since we're on the topic of super rares, I think it would be a cool idea to look back at the 2 super rares I talked about a long time ago in my first ever commentated video, Underrated Units. These 2 would of course be the Kitty of Liberty and Juliet the Maiko. We essentially gave Ultra Delinquent Cat a massive glow up, which was required due to how many flaws he had, but because Liberty and Juliet are much more competent units, we won't have to make as many changes. Let's start with the Kitty of Liberty now, a solid ranged single target super rare with high damage output, but low survivability and 1 knockback. Funnily enough, I don't think I'll change any of his core mechanics because Liberty does work fine as a unit, but rather I'm going to change what I dislike the most about the unit, which are his talents. Liberty's talents are composed of an inconsistent alien knockback ability, a somewhat self-sabotaging warp immune, and a completely useless curse immunity talent alongside stat talents. I'd argue that these are the single worst group of talents for any non-Uber Gacha unit in the game. There really is no reason to get any of them besides warp immune for extremely niche boosted strategies. Now let's do Liberty some justice and give him 3 real talents that will improve his performance. Knowing that we're now in the 14.0 plus era, I think it would be cool if he got some modern additions. The first talent I'll be giving Liberty is Shield Piercer. He's already one of the best barrier breaker units in the game, so giving him the ability to pierce shields as well makes a lot of sense. However, although he has guaranteed chance to break barriers, I won't be giving him a guaranteed chance to pierce shields, as that seems a bit too unbalanced. I think a 50% chance is fair game for someone like Liberty. Considering his attack rate, this should be around the consistency of Aqua Researcher, but Researcher has a higher range that works for enemies like Fallen Bear. Liberty's fast cooldown also allows him to come back if his initial hit didn't pierce the shield. The second talent I'm giving him will complement the first, and is actually Surge Immune. This helps him reach and shield pierce enemies even when there's deadly surge spam going on, and also makes him a great anti-surge attacker. I compared Dancer to Liberty before, and while Dancer has Wave Immune, Liberty can get Surge Immune to sort of act as the opposite counterpart now. And finally, the last talent I'm going to give Liberty is Behemoth Slayer. We don't really have many general anti-Behemoth attackers, with Courier being the main star of the show. So I'm going to have Liberty be a good ranged damage option that you can use in Behemoth stages as supplementary DPS, and his good all-around stats allow you to use him as a multi-purpose stat stick for chip, light tanking, or any sort of role. This also synergizes with his other talents, as a good amount of behemoths have the Surge ability, and his Shield Piercer ability can be used on Rangmaster. What I've done to Liberty now is give him 3 more niches, while keeping his generalist power relatively the same. Liberty was already a decently strong general unit, but the lack of competent talents made him a replaceable unit that didn't really shine on too many stages. With these new niches, I think Liberty can find great usage on a lot of specialist stages in the game, and still works as great of a generalist as ever. Now moving on to Juliet, another super rare gacha unit who is a generalist mid-ranger. She has pretty good DPS, speed, and cooldown, but stands at 250 range with no extra pierce. Her main flaw is that she has a very slow 2.3 second force swing, which causes her to miss pretty much everything she tries to attack, unless you make the enemies stand still. Juliet has her niche as an Angel Freezer, which does see use at times, but it's pretty awkward to set up. Generalist usage is also rarely seen due to the laggy attacks. While there's a lot of potential buffs you could give Juliet to make her more effective, there's only a single change that I'll need to make in order to turn Juliet from subpar into excellent. Juliet is mainly held back by her force swing, so I reduced it by an insane amount. Now, modifying numbers and abilities on a unit in BCU is easy, but actually changing Juliet's animation to match her new force swing was a bit of a hassle. Normally, Juliet attacks by first closing her doors, then waiting a bit before taking a small peek, and then slamming them open to deal damage. My idea was to make it so that Juliet Cat moved around with her doors already closed, and instantly slammed them open when she needed to attack. She would then close them a little bit after she opened them, and then take her quick peek before starting to move again. I will say, I'm no pro at animating sprites in BCU, and given the 44 different parts of Juliet's sprite model, this basically took me an hour to do. But it was well worth it, because look at what masterpiece of a unit we have here. Our modified Juliet has the exact same stats, but instead has a 4-frame force swing, almost instant, while having the same overall attack rate. Her DPS stats are the exact same, and so are her abilities. But because of fast force swing now, tons of new opportunities arise. Using her as an Angel Freezer is much more consistent, and on some enemies like Winged Piggy and Angelic Sleipnir, she is able to attack them before they attack her, making it easier to initiate a freeze chain. That's a fantastic improvement to her Angel niche, but it gets even better for her Generalist performance. Now she has extremely consistent hits due to fast force swing, and since Juliet already had 0 TBA, she is now a very safe rebound unit to use as a Generalist mid-ranger. She has a faster cooldown than most other super rares, and the good speed even allows you to use her as a rusher similar to Fishman or Courier. She has less damage and speed than Fishman, but a lower cooldown and higher range, meaning that there are different times where you want to use either. I still think Fishman is a better unit overall, but Juliet is now a versatile mid-range rusher that can fulfill a ton of different roles. There used to be memes calling Juliet the best cat a long time ago, but maybe today, she truly is one of the best cats. Oh wow, a Bun Bun. How dangerous. I guess I'll use my trusty Wendy to take care of him. Alright Wendy, go nuke him out of here. What? Divine Wendy's attack animation has been known by many people to be extremely deceiving, reaching nowhere near as far as the animation shows. I know she has an Ultra form now, but that still doesn't excuse how stupid this looks. Like, dude, that shot is way over there, but she can't even hit over here? Alright, there we go. Now the hit range matches the animation, and Wendy can stop giving enemies an immunity to explosion. That should be all the changes for today, but wait, apparently I have one more. Cat Clan Heroes is a very cool unit, but unfortunately he sucks ass. So I gave him a tiny little buff to make him just a bit more viable. This is his Ultra form, Cat Chad Heroes. He receives plus 100% HP and damage, targets all traits now, has Behemoth, Colossus, and Sage Slayer, gets the Strong Versus ability, and is now immune to every debuff in the entire game, alongside having the Barrier Breaker and Shield Piercer abilities. Oh, and his crit chance goes from 3% to 30%, so now he can be a pretty good anti-metal as well. After all these changes, Cat Chad Heroes is now rightfully a super powerful Uber, capable of nearly soloing almost every stage in the game. From a low tier Uber to a top tier one, everyone can now appreciate what Cat Chad Heroes brings to the table. Now this is the Dazzly Killer. Oh, and best of all, he has a secret ability. If you manage to unlock Cat Chad Heroes in game, he will use the most powerful ability possible in the Battle Cats, which is getting your account banned because you can't get him unless you're hacking. Oh well, maybe one day you'll be the best. I believe in you, Cat Clan. Anyways, have a good day everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.